question for Dule and for the rest of the cast as well. With your many actors,
loved your joke.
Okay, so
by the way, Kurt did a pilot as well.
Yes.
oh yeah,
Talking about me.
Kurt, your pilot.
I did a pilot for ABC, which is also a major studio. CBS, big deal. Yours is ABC, right? Yeah.
I read for Kurt's pilot and didn't get it.
You know, one of the few times I've beaten Corbin. By the way, first time, one of my first jobs was LA Law with the incredibly handsome and very, very nice Corbin. Bernsen, we had a scene.
Very nice as in past tense?
No, very nice now, but you were really nice then. Called, what is it called?
Everybody gets a trophy?
No, it's not a trophy. It's called My Thoughts Exactly, but that's going to change. That's why I'm not memorizing it. It's a working title. My Thoughts Exactly. Don't look for that, but look for it.
The Untitled Kurt Fuller Project.
Yeah, yeah.
so the question that I wanted to ask, first for Dule and then for the rest of the cast, a lot of actors say that they put a little piece of themselves into their characters. How much is Gus you?
Oof. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of his nuances come somewhere from inside me. A lot of his reaction, the way he looks at Sean and things like that. I don't know about the crying. That might be more like me and my cousins growing up. Really, a lot of stuff I've tried to do is things I remember growing up with my family that would make me laugh. I would somehow work into the character. But I'm not a sympathetic crier at all. But I do cry a lot though. Like I cry at the drop of the dime. I mean, I can be very emotional. So I don't know. 85% I think.
Can you handle blood?
Not really.
You want to find out?
Yeah, you want to find out? Yeah. Not really. Yeah, a lot of
I was channeling Yang.
Tim said that in my ear. Don't look at me, look at Tim.
I was channeling Yang when I asked that question. Sorry. Anyone else want to answer that question? How much of you are in your character?
Well, I think when you last as long as we did, which was such an unbelievable blessing, it kind of becomes inevitable that pieces of you start slipping in because it's not just your job, it becomes your life. It's for 7 months a year. And a lot of the bits that we did together to make each other laugh ended up as bits on the show, just because those were the bits that we did. And then when the cameras rolled, we just kept doing it. So a lot of stuff would get born off camera and then just go on camera because the lines get blurry after.
But it's all good bits.
But it blurred lines. It's blurred
Man.
We just have a couple more minutes if anyone else
Whatever
has any
happened to the
questions.
portable palm trees?
Whatever happened to it?
Is that a real palm tree in that last scene, by the way, in the foreground?
Yeah.
That is, okay.
Yeah.
You're probably on some pilot up in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, they auctioned those off with the blueberry.
Yeah.
Really?
How about, by the
I
way,
think they're on Almost Human. That's probably where they are right now.
You're right. You're totally right.
It's very interesting watching that show, by the way, because you see so many locations.
so
I
many
know where that is. I know exactly where that is.
They're in Georgia.
You know what I'm saying?
They're in the park.
Any show now that you watch in Vancouver, we've been so far over, like, we've covered every square inch of Vancouver and Greater Vancouver. That you watch any show that's filmed up there, we can pinpoint when we filmed something there.
when I watch a cable show or something on 5 or 13, I'm always like, how long is it going to be before I see a place that we've shot? And I'll watch until it comes
The
up.
thing that still blows me away is at the beginning how hard everybody worked to make sure it didn't look like Vancouver.
Yeah.
And now it's like, just put them in the forest. Dude. It's pouring rain. We don't even care. It's a point, you know.
It is torrential rain. I can't see it. Can't see it.
Doesn't matter. It's just, we're past it.
We used to pay money to take the mountains out of the background.
And there's traveling bougainvillea.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, we could be getting great locations for this money. So at this point, we have a very weird sort of amalgamism of Canada, Santa Canada.
Those establishing shots you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. There are people, the best thing that ever happens are the people that I meet who come up to me and say, I live in Santa Barbara. Where are you guys shooting?
You did something like that. You went and saw like the locations
Yeah,
in Santa Barbara.
Saturday we went up to Santa Barbara and did a Psych meet. And
That is absolutely
it was,
correct.
it's really desperate
Wow.
trying to find a place.
I was like, she's been to Vancouver though. What's happening right now?
Did you see how much money the blueberry went for?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic.
Great.
And
$40,000.
$40,000. And for the
Isn't that
Alzheimer's Association, it's
That's
so,
great.
so just touching and unbelievable. and great.
Amazing, amazing. Lauren, did you have a question?
Yeah, just for anyone, what like pop culture moment or guest star on the show was like closest to your heart? For anyone who wants to answer it.
Felicia Rashad for me. One, because obviously she's Claire Huxtable and all that, but I've known Felicia growing up in the business, you know, back in theater in New York. She knows tap dances and all that. So it's always full circle. I did Cosby years ago when I was doing Bring It Noise. So to be at the end, that's the one time of the show that I really... Yes, Tim, I did do this. I'm actually doing theater now, if you want to know. I'm a thespian. You know?
After midnight.
But no, like that was one time in the show that near the end that it did really touch me emotionally when we sang her out. Because I just remember knowing her over the journey of my life and my career, and it's like, wow, look how far I've come now, when she's actually playing my mom on a TV show that ran 8 years. Like, this is
And it was such a touching scene too, because she was eaten by First we had to get through that, and then we had to sing her out.
But I do love her dearly, you know what I mean? And I work with her daughter too, so I'm very close to the family. Because she's always been top of the list.
It was the cast
Can I
of
get one
20s.
question?
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
No,
Sure.
Drew. Wait, Drew, we're still answering the last question. Answer this one first.
I thought they were gonna cut you
What
off.
about Maggie? What was your? I like this question. I'm interested to hear.
I mean,
what,
I was just thinking about it, and I look back, and I feel like William Shatner, because of the,
Billy Schatz.
yeah, I think that really stands out for me.
Yeah.
Playing my
he's-
dad in those scenes, and plus it's William Shatner, so that was cool.
He's such a larger-than-life presence, when everything that we see, but then, like, when we would cut, he was this wonderful little man. And it was just, you know, like, you should probably sit down now, Mr. Shatner. But the best, and I think that's still one of my favorite moments, is that when you convinced him to do the chest bump. When you're just like, should we do this in the neck? He's like, let's do it. and Kristen was like, oh, you're gonna knock him over.
And he was great for telling stories that weren't true. And they were all hanging off to everything. He's like, start telling you a story. Like, oh wow, really? He's like, no.
I liked having my wife.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
And that was the
Sheila
last
Kyle, that
time
was
she
cool.
ever acted. And will ever act.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She hates acting now.
She was so good.
She doesn't like. She's done with it. She was Sue B.
Roday, Tim.
What's your fave?
I can't answer the question. There's just too many. There's too.
That's a cop out.
It is a cop out, but.
Come on, Tim. Don't be a gallivanter.
Stephen Lang is just on top of.
Oh, yeah.
Just, I mean, there were so many, but Stephen Lang always comes top of my head because I so admire. I just think he's a tremendous actor, and to have him come out and do one scene to play with us, and just the whole experience of us saying, you know, we did the scene, and we're like, by the way, Stephen, you're coming out for a steak with us, and you're telling the stories. And he was like, all right, and he was just so game. We've had there's been so many of those people that just come up and like would come out with us afterwards and just be a part of it. It was.
Who's your least favorite guest actor? Just far more interesting.
No, we haven't gotten Kirsten. We got to do Kirsten. Let's not.
Feedback on like Bill Shatner, but Jane.
Oh,
Jane
yeah.
that she was so much fun to play with, and she was I wanted her to be my best friend at the end.
She was your best friend.
She was my bestie. I'm not like stalking her or anything right now. But she was a very kind person, and like Tim said, these people come up to Vancouver and they're out of their elements in the sense that they're no longer in the U.S. and these scales or whatever fall, and it's really nice to just hang with people, regardless of how big they are. They're friends that come, they're hanging out with us and playing, and that's...
Speaking of taking people out afterwards, nobody parties harder than the WWE superstars.
So true.
Those cats can
Did you get body slammed by anybody?
They can just drink like I didn't know people.
Not WWE superstars for nothing.
And we would all try to hang with them because we're like, they came all the way to Vancouver. We got to go out. We got to hang. And then, oh my gosh.
Andy Berman did 17 shots at Jack with
Andy Berman risked his life.
John Cena would have been indicted in killing Andy Berman.
I think Berman is still drunk from that night. Still drunk.
I do want to adjust mine slightly as well. Anthony Michael Hall. Now that I've about it. To work with Anthony Michael Hall and to just be in a scene of just he and I and riffing off this man who I realized, sort of working with him, he's one of the reasons I became an actor. I memorized every one of his movies. I used to do it for my friends at the lunch counter, and the lunch table in junior high. And to suddenly work with him was really, really surreal. And thank you for that on the show.
Steve, then Drew, let's get out of here. Huh? Steve,
okay. Probably Malcolm McDowell in terms of just being starstruck by somebody. I mean, obviously, I had Carrie on 4 times, and I have a special love for that man. He's just so fun and great. But Malcolm McDowell was the moment where I think James and I were both in awe, and he came down to the set, and I was showing him where I'm like telling Malcolm McDowell where he's going to stand and what he's going to say. And he was very serious and I say this with actors because I think we can make it happen. I say, if you don't have the most fun you've ever had, at least on a television show, then I've failed in my job. And he went back to the trailer and he came back. And he was the randiest, dirtiest, funniest guy ever from that day forward, and right to the end. And seriously, James and I don't know how we got work done because we would yell cut. He'd go to his chair, and James here, me here, and we would just sit there and just listen and wait for him to talk. And it was just great. It's so grateful for all these things that we've got to do.
Who was your favorite, Kevin? Who was your favorite person?
I thought the inclusion of me in the post show was a phenomenal choice. It was bold and he was fantastic. He did great. So I have to go with himself.
Well, with a bang.
Kurt, other than getting to work with all of us.
Yes.
I'm going to say Jimmy Cagney. He was good, so natural. Oh, you're talking about Psych.
He's a
no, I never left the coroner's room. I never worked with anybody, but these people really.
It's true.
Pretty much.
We're mostly in your
Yeah, so I'm
You
going to
got
say
the
me.
short end of the stick, didn't you?
I'm going to say me.
Pierre Sorvino came into the...
Yes, and that was wonderful. That was wonderful to work with Mira. But yeah, let's go with Mira. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, we're going to wrap it up. So thanks, everybody. Any final anything? No?
Drew had one question.
Yeah, I just want to hear from Tim your reaction to how Lassie and Sean ended up their relationship.
My personal reaction is it's exactly where it should have been, and that little hug at the end, it really, I loved it. I loved that scene. I actually watched it over and over several times.
But when you break the...
Stop that damn...
Jesus.
Yeah.
That to me was like...
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, you did it great.
It was perfect.
Too much your own work.
Sorry. Oh, the scene with James! Oh, that was nice. I didn't actually watch it.